So today we have to talk about the Terraform lifecycle. So first thing is you write or update your Terraform code. Let's say first thing is code. Let's bring this here. You write or update your Terraform code. Correct? And after that, there is another step which is known as initializing. Right? So this code is something which you are implementing some project. Right? So the other one, the other state or step would be init, right? Init means initialization, right? So you initialize the project over here. Initialize the project. The code we are referring to as a project. Whatever task, whatever activity we are doing. So that is the next part of the code. So after the successful initialization, when Terraform has downloaded all its specific files, headers, libraries, everything, because initialization is getting the provider related information, right? Capturing all the header files, provider related stuff so that it can work with the respective provider. That is what is initialization, right? Once you click on initialization, you will see that those things, correct? So you initialize the project. After that, you will plan, right? So what we are doing in the plan step, you speculate what will change, right? Whether it can be addition, deletion, or some changes, right? So what will change, or you can just regenerate the execution plan. So it can say there is no changes on the infrastructure. Anything it can say, right? So depending upon the current scenario, if there are new modification, new changes are there, then it will show you the changes, what are there. Otherwise, it will just show you the execution plan of all the details, right? After that, next step comes, which is your validate, right? Which is your validate. So you try to validate your infrastructure, right? You need to ensure the types and the values, whichever you are inputting, they are valid, and you have to ensure all the required attributes they are present or not, correct? So you ensure types and values are valid. First of all, because whatever type and whatever data types which you have defined, in case if they are invalid, then it will be definitely showing you error. And you need to ensure, uh, you also need to ensure all the required attributes are present, right? All the required attributes are present. That is something which is evaluated as a part of the validate plan or Terraform validate, correct? Now, after this, the most important step comes, which is your apply part. Which is your apply. So first, you came from plan, now plan to apply, and from apply, you can go back to merge your code that okay, it has been successfully deployed. So in this, your Terraform will plan and will show you all the information which have been provisioned. So it will create the resources. It will create the resources. And I would say instead of, because it can be deletions as well, right? So it will execute Terraform plan. Why did I say execute Terraform plan? Because whatever it has shown you, whatever speculations have been done, it will execute that Terraform plan, right? And it will share all the outputs, and it will share all the provisioning info. Information. So like you create an EC2 instance. What is the EC2 instance ID? What is the IP? Everything, whatever you see, that will be shared out of it. So that is what your Terraform apply. Now, from the state when you have applied the infrastructure, right? In case if you have an infra successfully deployed and now you want to get rid of it, when you want to get rid of it, then there is Terraform. Then there is Terraform destroy. So this is something which is needed to destroy the remote infrastructure. Correct? So that is why Terraform destroys them. Correct, everyone? Is it clear? Various states or the life cycle of Terraform. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now let's move further. So after this, we'll talk about your Terraform change automation. So is everyone getting whatever we are discussing? Not just Dhanush and Sandeep and Mahesh. Everyone is in sync, whatever we are discussing. If you have any confusion queries, you can ask now. Otherwise, later on, very difficult to repeat. Okay, fair enough. Now let's say we move with this. So in your change automation, first thing, when your change automation is executing, you should have a change management before you are automating your changes. So one is your change management. Right? So this change management is something which clearly describe that what would be followed when resources are modifying and applied via a configuration script, right? So whatever changes it is happening, it is all described via configuration file. That is what is a change management. But at the same time, if you talk about your change automation, it is something where you're automatically creating a consistent or a systematic way in which you will be managing all your change request and with some controls and policies which you're defining, right? So Terraform uses internal change automation, right? And these are in the form of some execution plans which have been defined. And there is a segregation in terms of your resource group where it will apply, review, and evaluate in case if there are any complex change sets, right? So let's really quickly bring that for you. Terraform. So give a moment, I'm just trying to find out the exact definition which I can share with you. Okay, so a lot of things they have defined. You can read this, but let me just write a quick summary of whatever they have defined over here. We'll write a small quick summary of whatever they are discussing. When we talk about the change management is a procedure that will be followed when resources are modified, correct? And these changes are applied via a configuration script, right? So this is the summary of your change management which you're doing, right? Similarly, I will write for you the change automation as well, in case if you don't want to read the entire document. So in that, they are trying to explain, let's say, if you find a way, so this is also a procedure. Use a different pen. This is also a procedure or a way of automating of automatically creating a consistent, systematic, uh, systematic, and let's say predictable way of managing change request, right? Change request via controls and policies. Great, everyone. So I think this is the summary of that page which I've given you, right? So Terraform uses your change automation and they use this in a form of your execution plans, right? And you have the resource groups which apply and review all the complex change sets which are there, correct? So majorly your execution plans, your change sets, these are the crucial terminologies which, let's say, you're giving in bigger organizations, right? So they are expecting this kind of terminologies which you use as a part of your answers, right? So you should not be actually learning everything, and but these kind of terminologies when you use, that reflect that yes, you have done some kind of certification and you have that knowledge, right? So if anyone asks you about the change automation, you should be able to clearly tell them what this change automation you are doing, because this is what is helping Terraform to do a lot of things, right? And that is the level of automation which Terraform is providing. Correct, everyone? So Terraform uses this change automation, right? That is why we are talking about change automation and change management. So Terraform is a language which uses change automation, and these works with the help of your execution plans, right? And your chain sets which have been defined over there. So I will write that as well for you. So Terraform uses change automation, which is the first thing, correct? Second thing, and uh, these change automation are in form of execution plans. Are in form of execution plans, right? And resource graphs, correct? And when you have this, when you have these two things, so these become helpful to apply and review complex change sets. Now, change sets word has come from where? Now everyone has learned that, right? So where is this word change set is coming from? Come on, everyone. In AWS.
Cloud formation, sir.
Yes, in cloud formation. So what does change set do?
It will do incremental changes on the cloud formation stack.
What does that incremental mean? Any examples?
Like you modify something in that template and you update.
So in case if you have a infrastructure already running and you want to make changes on the existing infrastructure and you have a stack set already running, then you create a change set to update your existing infrastructure. So all your changes are executed in a sequential way so that the respective changes can be implemented. And once the changes are successful, those are reflected as an output in the change set. Correct? That is what it happens, Sandeep?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right? So what about others? Do you all know change set or not? Everyone
Yes, we are aware. Yeah.
is aware, right? So this change set terminology which has been evolved, similar kind of change set we refer in Terraform as well. So this is something which is a collection of commits, right? And these commits are doing what? They are representing the changes which are made to a repository, right? Which are these are the changes which are made to a versioning repository, correct? And IAC, which is infrastructure as a code, uses these change set so that you can see what has changed and who has done these changes over the period of time. Is it clear, everyone? What is the change set? Do you want me to write? Everyone is silent, which means I have to write. Correct? So change sets. Correct? So what did I said about change sets? There's something which is a collection of commits. Collection of commits. What does commits means? What does commits means? Now this is something which you have to tell me.
Changes
in
push to the Terraform. Yeah.
Yeah. So there may be several changes which have been committed, and the changes which are successfully implemented, those are then done when we actually commit them. This commit word has come from that place. Correct? So it is not just work by saving it, but you have to commit it. Right? Just like you use a piece of code, right? In the code repository with Git, you have to commit the changes. When you save the file, Control S, it will not work. You have to commit it and then push it to the repository. So there will be several commits. So it's a collection of commits. Right? So collection of commits that represent your changes, that represents your changes made to a versioning or a versioned. Why did I say version? Because there will be several versions of the repository. So the versioned repository, right? And this IAC uses these change sets. IAC uses these change sets so that you can see what has changed by whom over the period of time. So if you have created a pull request and that pull request have been merged to the master. Who create the pull request, who merged it, those things and those changes can be seen or not, everyone? Can we see who did that or not?
Yes, sir. We can see it, sir.
You can see it, right? So that is helping you, and this is very useful in case of a version repository. When it is a version repository, right? So let's move further. So in your chain set, I specifically mentioned about two things. One is your execution plans, right? And resource graphs. Execution plans and resource graphs. So when you have these execution plans, so let's say you are writing a piece of the code, right? And you have defined an execution plan, right? So you will manually review that this plan which has been executed, what this plan will add, what it will change, what it will destroy. So before you apply the changes, right, to the Terraform, you will first review it manually. Yes or no, everyone? Before applying the changes, what you will do, you will review all the changes manually.
Yes, sir.
Right? And after doing that manual revision, then you type the command what Terraform apply. So that execution plan which has been received, so that is referred to as your manual review. That is part of a step which you have to definitely do. It is not that you ran the plan and without seeing anything you did the apply. Does that make sense?
Yes,
right?
sir.
You should always be reviewing manually whatever changes that code is doing. You should be able to review that. You should be aware about by seeing the code that okay, what this code actually is doing. And that is what is the complex part. And most of the people break the infrastructure at this level, that they may not be aware about that what this plan is doing. They miss one thing and the infrastructure is changed. So this is a highly critical step. Correct? Highly critical step. And you will see in the organization that the peer review process is also integrated at this layer only. So what we are doing over here, we are doing a manual review. Manual review of what will add, change, or destroy before you apply changes, right? So how do we apply changes? Example, you just type the keyword what? What is the keyword? Keyword is Terraform apply. Correct? Before doing this Terraform apply, you have to manually review this. So you have to visualize your entire execution plan, right? If you want to visualize, correct? So when you want to visualize this execution plan, what are you changing, whatever you are adding? This is possible with the help of Terraform. It is possible with the help of Terraform graph, or that is known as resource graph, right? But what is a prerequisite for this? What is a prerequisite? That you need to install graph Viz. Graph Viz is a tool which you need to install. Correct? Then only it will work. So Graph Viz is a tool for drawing graphs in dot scripts, and it is having an extension dot gv, right? So this is a tool for drawing graph in dot scripts, having extension dot gv. Correct, everyone? So the resource graph in your Terraform, they becomes very useful, right? So your resource graphs becomes very useful because your Terraform is building a dependency from your Terraform configuration, and it will walk this to generate your plans, right? Or you want to refresh your plan, or you want to do a state, your state refresh, or you want to do any further related commands or steps, whatever you want to achieve. That is something you can do that. So validate is only for validation. That is something which you have to let's say validate all the variables which you have defined or the inputs which you are giving. Correct, Jagat? So that will be done before this step. Here we are just before the apply. Means validation and everything is done. Correct? Validation and everything is done. But we have to be assured that whatever has been given as a part of the plan, right? Whatever has been given as a part of the plan, whether are we agreeing to what it is deploying? Are we agreeing to what changes it is doing? If we are not agreeing to the changes, we will not move forward. We'll go back to our code and we'll make the changes in our code to fix that problem. Correct, everyone? So the resource graphs is something which you will always find internally. Just like you are creating this Terraform graph, the resource graph will be, let's say you create an EC2 instance, right? EC2 instance has a dependency on, let's say if you want to create it as a part of a specific VPC, but dependency on a VPC, so you should have a VPC ID. EC2 instance should also have a security group to attach. Yes or no, everyone? So there are
Yes, yes.
dependencies, right? So the resource graph is something which is helping you. So this is one which is drawing the graph which you are doing, right? But the resource graph is something which is helping you to build the Terraform builds a dependency graph from Terraform configurations, and walks this to generate let's generate plans, and it will generate the plan. It will generate, or you want to do a refresh of whatever resources are there, or you want to do a refresh. Yes, you plan, you will also do a refresh and refresh in terms of refreshing the state, refresh state, correct? And many more things. I don't recall as of now, right? And many more other things you can do with this. So these dependency graphs, which you see over here, these are important, right? Because without this, your resources will not get created, correct? So creation of A is something which is dependent upon B or C, or B or C is dependent upon A, right? or D, E, F, three resources, they are dependent upon B and A, right? So let's say we create this, something like this, A, B, C, correct? And let's say inside B, you have D, E, F, correct? A, B, C, and D, E, F. So this D, E, F is what? This D, E, F is your, this D, E, F is something which is dependent upon B. Some means this is not the hierarchy thing which I'm defining you. But let's say if you want to create D, this needs to have something, some attribute from B, which is, let's say, your VPC. So VPC is what inside which there will be subnets. Inside the subnet, you have EC2 instance. So I'm just referring this structure to show you that this dependency graph is providing you your dependable or dependent object, which is there, right? So dependency graph is dependency objects. Correct? This is created with the objects on which things are dependent. So I think there is one image which have been shared. Let me just please see. So your AWS test instance 1, 2, 3, test 0, 1, 2, they are dependent upon provider. They're dependent upon ELBs, Route 53. So yeah, similar to this, right? They are dependent upon several things. Correct, everyone? Right? So you can use the image which is there in the chat if you want. Make sense? What is the dependency graph is? Everyone? These are small concepts which you have to memorize, because
Yes.
when you write your code and let's say some error is not there, so you should be clear that okay, whether I do have dependencies or not. Correct? If the dependencies are not there, this may not work, right? So you have to be very much clear that okay, yes, the dependencies are properly defined. Is it clear? Are we good to move forward?
Yes. So we have to first determine the dependencies, sir.
No, so dependencies may be already defined, but if there is a dependency, right, if it is not created, then it is your responsibility. It will throw an error that these dependencies are not found. So you have to go ahead and create those dependencies first and then come back to this code, right? Either
Okay.
you have defined everything as a part of one code, right? Then it will execute that code first, right? But let's say you are defining a dependency command that okay, this is dependent upon the VPC ID. So it will go and fetch the VPC ID first.
Yes, I got it.
Got it? Okay, so let's move further. So in your code, we define your variables as, right? So variables we have not spoken yet. I think variables, everyone is aware that why we are defining it as a part of the code, right? These variables and other things, I think everyone should be aware, correct? Is there anyone who doesn't know what are variables which are defined as a part of the programs? So why do we define variables in a command, in a code or things which are there? Why do we define variables?
To store the value or data, sir.
Yes, to store values.
Okay.
Store values and change it anytime we want. So suppose we have to change it. variables are useful in that way.
Okay. So ultimately,
Or we can say the state, to store the state of something.
not the state, because state we use specifically for the existing setup. But let's say when you don't want to give something statically, right? You want to define something at the time of execution or runtime, correct? So you want to set the values with the help of CLI, that when you execute your command, you give that as a variable, and you will give the input at the time of when you execute that program at the CLI. Or maybe it can be referred to as your environmental variables, which you have defined. So when we declare these, let's say, variables in a child module, their reference is different. When you define them in your root module, then their usage is different, right? So when you are referring any variables as Terraform variables, when you are referring that them as a part of your root module of your configuration, correct? So you can set those values as a part of your CLI, right? But when you declare them in your child modules, then when you are calling these modules, then you should be passing them in your module block. So you have to understand the modular structure first, right? Terraform is running into a modular structure. One is your root module, one is your child module, let's say, correct? So you have one root module which gets executed, and let's say if you are calling or executing the root module, but in that there is a variable which is defined itself of root, then you will be inputting or giving them at the part of the CLI. But let's say some variables you have defined as a part of the child module. So unless and until the child module is called into the main module, you don't need to give the input. They should be only passed in the module block. There are several blocks you have to define. Correct? It's a bit confusing, I know, but let's check my document. Just give me a moment. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Sir, also your audio is not really clear, sir.
I will change the mic. Just give me.
No, it's audible fine to me.
It's audible, but it's sort of like breaking and coming back. So
Okay, I mean, experience that.
So Dhanush, is it something at your end or it is only at my end? Can you check? Can you increase your volume at your side?
yeah, I've increased the volume.
Check with others
Now
also.
it's
Like
better.
if others also facing the same, then yeah, we can decide.
Is also facing any audio issues?
No, no, I am also hearing that voice cut off.
So
Okay.
Voice is audible, sir, but from your mic, sir.
No, sir, your audio is very clear, sir.
Yeah, for me it is very clear. No cut and all.
Like I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes it happens, but now it's fine.
but I will do something for that, so that the recording is not messed, right? So recording should be fine. Let me bring two mics. Just a minute. Okay, so is it better now? Let me just quickly change. No, I don't think it should be better now. Just let me change.
So it's very better and very clear, sir.
Okay. Now it should be fine, right?
So it's fine.
Yes, sir, it's good now.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so we were about to start the variables part. So I was trying to search one document. Just give me a moment. Sorry. Okay, fair enough. So we can read from here as well. So Terraform variables are, I will share this link with you guys in the chat. So please bookmark these links. So Terraform variables, these are the placeholders for what you can use to make your configurations more dynamic and reusable. They let you define values that can be reused throughout your Terraform configuration, right? Similar to variables in any programming language, correct? So they accommodate different configuration without altering your code. You can easily change only the values, these variables to achieve different use cases, right? And there are several types which are there, right? So there are string, number, bool, list, map, tuple, object, set. So these are the various type of Terraform variables. Let me just copy this.
It supports object as well.
Yes. So correct. So Terraform variable types, Control B, and so one is your string. So the fundamental type stores text values. Use strings for data that doesn't require mathematical operations such as username and tags, right? The other one which you have is your numbers. This type is used for numeric. Let me just move it a bit. Use numbers. This type used for numerical values that used need to perform calculation on or use numeric settings such as scaling parameters, settings, timeout, and defining a number of instances to deploy, right? Bool would be true and false wherever you are doing any kind of decision making. So short for Boolean is bool, correct? This type is this type is strictly for true or false values. These are essentials for logic and conditional statements in configuration, such as enabling or disabling resource provisioning, right? So that is there. Then you have your list. A list is a sequence of values of same type. This type is ideal for scenarios where you need to manage a collection of similar items like multiple configuration tags, correct? Then you can add them into a square bracket, put the comma, and you can add them, correct? Then you have maps. Maps are, sorry. So maps are collection of key value pairs, each unique key mapping to a specific value. And the purpose of this specific value is why these people are adding me. Okay, leave them. So maps are a collection of key value pair, each unique key mapping to a specific value. This type is useful, for example, when associating server names with their roles or configurations, right? That is how you can use it, right? Next is your tuple. Now, these are exactly same how you use in Python, right? So this type is similar to list, but can contain a fixed number of elements, each potentially of a different type. Tuples are suitable when you need to group a specific set of values with varied types together, like coordinate of mixed data types, right? Then you have objects. This is also similar to your Python. Let me just quickly enter. So objects are used to define structure and with named attributes, each with its own type. They are very flexible, allowing the definition of complex relationship like a configuration block that includes various attributes of different types, right? So we will be seeing when we define an object, then we will be discussing this, right? So sets are a collection of unique values of same type. Again, this is the same thing. These are useful when you need to ensure no duplicates, such as a list of unique user identifiers and configuration that must remain distinct, right? So if you have learned Python already, then for you, string, number, bool, list, maps, tuple, set, they should be very common. For object, I can understand. You may be having some confusion. So once we create an object, then it will be clear for you.
This map is like dictionary in Python. This
Yes,
map.
yes, absolutely right. So you will have some variables like list of maps, right? You will have some you have in Python as well, right? That you can have a list in which you have maps, because map is something which is defining you a key value pair, and that key value pair you can pass as a list as well. So that
Right.
is something which is called as a list of maps.
Yes. This tuple will go as a key, and that list as will go as a value actually.
Correct. Okay, everyone, is it clear?